Welcome to Mastery Fractional CFO Services Punchy podcast, where we interview business owners from all walks of life and talk to them about their business. We also give them the opportunity to ask a fractional CFO any question related to the financial success of their business. Today, I've got with me Jonathan Ames from Jonathan Ames Vancouver Real Estate. Jonathan is also with Lightwell Developments, a real estate development company. Jonathan, tell us about who you are and what you do. Tell us about your businesses.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I'm in real estate, as Ryan said, and I got into real estate through a combination of passion and opportunity. Growing up, I was always fascinated by architecture, loved looking at buildings, homes, going to open houses, exploring presentation centers, looking at real estate listings, and they do put a lot of really cool print magazines with high-end homes, high-end photos, and I used to love looking at those and the prices and the features. And my interest in the development side of the business was sparked because I have a family background in real estate development and real estate in general. So I looked up to my older family members, my grandfather, father, uncles, and I thought it would be cool to work with some of my heroes, build something from nothing. After completing university, I initially worked in a different field, but the allure of real estate kept calling me. So eventually I decided to follow my real estate passion and made the switch and started working a little over 10 years ago with a local multifamily developer in Vancouver on the acquisition and assembly side. So we were building townhome projects in East Van, sort of larger condo projects all over Vancouver and the Tri-Cities. So after working on a number of projects, I transitioned to the brokerage side of the business, something that I really liked, being able to work with property owners and help them in their negotiations with developers, help package their properties and put together an assembly and sell them to developers and builders. And I'm also on a team that's focused on residential sales in Vancouver. So I'm a realtor, but I'm not only realtor. Now I'm also a partner of a development company called Lightwell Developments. And we're at the forefront of some of the radical innovations that are coming to British Columbia land use policy.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, can you tell us maybe a little bit more about that, specifically Lightwell Developments?
Sure. So Lightwell, we're a development company. We're focused primarily on small scale multifamily properties targeting at what's called the missing middle. So these are townhomes, duplex type properties. There's a new policy that first came in the city of Vancouver, a couple other municipalities in British Columbia like Victoria, and now it is coming to the rest of the province through legislature called Bill 44 on June 30th. So it's only a few weeks from now. Most of the municipalities that meet certain criteria are going to have to adopt their plans and bylaws to meet some of the recommendations from the province. So how it's playing out in different cities will vary, but for example, in the city of Vancouver, around 70% of single family lots, and most of the city of Vancouver is single family lots, can now, there was already the zoning change, so no rezoning is required, but they can be built into between, say, 4 and 6 units instead of just one single family home. And if you're building purpose-built rental there with a rental covenant in place, you can build up to 8 units. Now, the numbers don't exactly work for rental on these lots. On certain properties in certain areas, it can be quite a profitable venture.
Very interesting. And how did you get into that?
I'm just always staying up to date on new policy, what's happening in the areas. And I partnered with a few people I knew from the industry. One of my partners, Randy Cheng, was a developer I've known for quite a while, was already very active in this space, not in this particular policy, but in these types of projects. And we teamed up with James Livingstone, who comes from a finance and private equity accounting background. I cover acquisitions and sales and marketing. So the three of us, formed a good partnership with complementary skill sets.
Very interesting. Now, with Lightwell Developments, then, are you looking for investors? Are you looking for what are you looking for there? What would be the next step in the path along the road to success for Lightwell Developments?
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great question. So we're looking for a number of different things. Currently, we have 4 multiplex projects on the go where we're building between 3 units and 6 units per project. These are all currently in the city of Vancouver. Some of these are standard purchases, so we would buy the property from the property owner and go through the entitlement process. A lot more goes into it, but it's just high level, develop it and sell it off. And some of them are involved joint ventures, we call our co-development program, where we actually will partner with property owners and they become a silent partner in the development. You can also take a more active role if there's a need. They have a complementary skill set and they have an opportunity to earn considerably more than they would have if they just sold their property outright. They get to take some money off the table before construction commences, and it gives us an opportunity to grow. So that's one of the things we're looking for. So we're looking for properties to purchase that might meet our needs. We're looking for property owners that are looking to partner or considering, utilizing underutilized space on their property. They want to know, if there is an available uh, plan in place, if there's available policy that they can use to increase density on their property, so we can help them with that. Some property owners that we've purchased from want to have a right of first refusal to buy into the project. They like where they're living. They don't want to leave, but it's time for whatever reason to downsize. Sometimes people want to tap into the equity in their property and use that to fund their retirement, fund their children's education, help their children buy homes, or they want to take what was their existing single family home and now be able to build up to 6 homes on their property, potentially give some to their children as well. So it can a variety of problems and a variety of needs. And there's sort of creative ways that we can make it work for different property owners. We also are open to investment for accredited investors. They can invest in our funds and they can invest in our projects. And that targets around a 20% return per annum. So that's something that could be open to a variety of investors if they meet certain criteria.
Sure, that's exciting. So, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you or Lightwell Developments to talk more about this, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Sure, they could contact me by email if they wanted to at Jonathan, Jonathan, at lightwelldevelopments.com. They can go to if they're interested in buying and selling real estate, they can go to website at jonathanames.ca. That's for my real estate team. They can also, if they're interested in Lightwell Developments, they can go to lightwelldevelopments.com
Okay.
or
And
find us
so,
on social media.
pardon me?
Or find us on social media.
Social media, for sure. I know you're on LinkedIn, amongst others. Okay, so Lightwell Developments is one part of what you do. And then you've got the Personal Real Estate Corporation. Is there an area of specialty, or can you tell us maybe a little bit about what you can do for people on that front, or what you're looking for on that front, or both?
Yes, definitely. My focus, we have 2 focuses when it comes to selling real estate. One of them is development land, properties with development potential. That's where a lot of my experience lies, and that's where there's really I guess a competitive advantage from all my years in development when it comes to helping homeowners understand what their property is worth as a development site. Also, guiding investors on how to purchase a property that has development potential and figure out what the true potential is, because it's important to understand that just because the plan or the policy in place may allow development to a certain density or a certain scale and type of development, that doesn't mean that it's financially feasible, one, or it doesn't mean that the site actually will create an efficient enough building that you'd be able to adequately utilize it. So those are all things that you'd have to keep in mind, and a lot goes into the analysis to determine that. And that's a mistake that a lot of agents make and a lot of investors make, and property sellers as well, right? They should understand what the true potential of their property is. In addition, there's a lot of changes happening in the Lower Mainland and British Columbia in general with all these new policies that are coming into play, and still most homeowners don't understand them or don't even know about most of these changes. For example, there's TOA sites, transit-oriented areas, or transit-oriented development sites. So surrounding SkyTrain stations, rapid transit, and certain bus loops, there's considerable densification that's happening from 8 stories to 20 plus stories, depending on your distance from the station up to 800 meters away. So it'll lead to increased development in certain areas, but it might not actually. There's a lot of sites that, even though the policy is going to allow that, it may not be feasible to actually build those for a variety of reasons. So it's important to understand what policies are in place and how it will affect your property. We don't know yet what all the fees associated for the developers will be. So higher the fees, then the lower the amount of money is going to be left over for the property value. And that's something that people have to keep in mind. The way developers are going to value your property is considerably different than if you were going out and buying a condo or buying a house. There's a few main methods of real estate valuation. The one that the average person is most familiar with is probably the direct comparison approach. It's the same thing we do if you're going to buy a used car or you're going to buy any other item. You figure out, what other similar products are selling for, and that's how you're going to get a good idea if that property is worth that or not. When it comes to development land, that's going to be taken into consideration. The primary method of valuation is what's called the land residual method. So you figure out what you can build, figure out if you sold it, how much you would be able to get for it. So your projected revenue, you factor in the cost to build it. There's going to be a profit margin in place, and that's an amount that's going to be required by your lender in order for them. You're going to have to see that there's enough of a profit margin in order for them to lend on the project, and that amount will vary based on the development type, based on economic conditions as well. But whatever's left over at the end, after all of that, is how much the land will be worth. So that amount may be more than what the direct comparison is showing, or it may be less. But that's the primary method of valuation. So I think it's important for people to understand that difference. And we are also selling condos, selling houses, primarily in Vancouver, just because of our hyper localized knowledge, doing a lot of door knocking and land assemblies. We really learn what's happening on each block. And as a result, we're able to find our clients when they want to purchase their next house. We know usually who's looking to sell well before they want to. So a lot of times we're either able to sell a property off market or purchase it off market, depending on what our clients are looking for. So that, I guess, is something that people need to keep in mind, right? If you're just waiting for what comes up on the MLS, it's only going to take you so far, and then you're seeing it once everyone else has already seen it. So yeah, I guess those are the two main areas that we touch on.
And there's potentially a lot to that. If somebody has needs related to that and they want to talk to an expert, they can get a hold of you. What was your email address again?
Sure, you can contact me at Jonathan, Jonathan, at Lightwell Developments.
Okay. And your website on the real estate side was?
JonathanAmes.ca.
Okay. I'll put that in the links below as well. And so, Jonathan, one of the things we do on these podcasts is we offer our guests the opportunity to ask a fractional CFO any question related to the financial success of their business. What's a question you have for a fractional CFO today?
I guess, the question is, just what do you see as the key financial strategies and pitfalls that you see developers and real estate investors falling into when they're looking to grow their business, and what strategies you recommend while they're trying to grow their business while also managing risk?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. That's a complex question too. So strategies, pitfalls, risks, and the answer is that, and this is going to be fairly high level, but the devil's always in the details. But it's very important to first of all understand what are the goals, what's our target, where do we want to be, and what's the timeline. So where do we want to be in a year, where do we want to be in 5 years? Figure out what the target is, and then understand where you're at. Know what your records are telling you in terms of cash flow, in terms of profit and loss, in terms of assets and resources. Understand what you're going to have to do to get to your goals. And it's going to involve making investments in cash, outlaying cash. It's going to involve absolutely, you're going to have to sell something, and you're going to have to be able to cover expenses and overhead. But you want to be able to understand the financial side of things and what the path is to get to where your goals are. You're going to have to understand there may be challenges with respect to cash flow. Sometimes, although you might be profitable, you may not have the cash readily available to cover this month's bills. So if you're planning in advance and looking after those kinds of potential pitfalls, that will help reduce your risks. A lot of businesses, as they grow, especially, cash flow is one of the key challenges they run into. They are profitable. They've got a good thing going, but the cash isn't always there in the bank when you need it. And there's a variety of reasons why that is. But you're going to have to be able to or I would recommend you resolve that before you get to that point. You look at it in advance, you build a cash flow forecast, you understand which months might be tight and why. You can approach investors, you can put in shareholder funds, you can talk to the banks in advance, you can make different business decisions that'll affect the cash flow forecast a little bit differently. What you had planned to do may not be what you end up doing based on this forward-looking planning that you're doing. That's probably the most important thing. I say the devil's in the details. You can get very specific. That's part of what we do as a service, is we help our clients, whether it be real estate investment or if it's any other business, we help them understand where they're at, where they want to go, and how they're going to get there, how that aligns with the rest of their business, operations, sales and marketing, and so much more. So there's a lot to it. And that's part of how we help leverage our clients' time and their expertise. Even if you're a CPA and you understand financial statements, you don't necessarily want to be spending your time looking after the financial planning and analysis and the forecasting and the budgeting. You need to know what it is, and there need to be plans in place, but we can fit that role as a part-time chief financial officer for a company that's not large enough to afford a full-time on-staff chief financial officer. We can bring to the table the expertise and the tools to build that part of your company out, the financial strategic part of your company. And we are always happy to talk to people about the details of that and how it pertains to their business. If they're interested, they can contact us, and our contact information is going to be recorded below as well. But that's pretty much the answer at a high level. Jonathan, is that fair? Does that pretty much cover the bases for you?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Great.
For
All
sure.
right. So we've talked about your business. Thank you for that. We've talked about how to get a hold of you. Is there anything else we should discuss, Jonathan, before we let you go for today?
What have you always wanted to know about real estate and
Oh,
development?
wow. That's a great question. You caught me a little bit off guard. Let me think about that for just a moment. I'll tell you what I want to know. I want to understand for the luxury properties, and I know that price range is different for different cities. But what do you see? And this I'm putting you on the spot here. What do you see in the next year or two? Do you think that the luxury market is going to change significantly relative to mid market and like the entry level market? In other words, if I have let's say I'm in Toronto and I've got $1 million home, and I'm looking at buying a $3 million home. Is the spread going to be greater in a year from now? Should I wait, or should I do that now? Should I make the move now and sell my $1 million home and buy a $3 million home? What would you recommend? Is that crazy?
So is it crazy? That depends on your how much money you have to burn. It's an excellent question, and I actually do have an answer. Right now, I would say is a good time if you want to move into the luxury segment of your market. The reason being is that in the high interest rate, there's two things working against that segment of the market now. One is the high interest rate environment, making mortgages less affordable. Your pool of buyers gets shrunk considerably.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Entry level condos, duplexes, townhomes, certain single family homes, those are selling still pretty well if they're marketed at the right price. So let's say downtown Vancouver, condos that are more expensive than $3.5 million, and there's a lot of them. That market's really slow because of high interest rates, but also there's the foreign buyer ban, right? High A lot of the investors, their condo investors, have sort of left the game. The numbers are not penciling out, and they're usually, unless you're using almost the majority of the purchase price as equity, you're going to be cash flow negative, and that's only been exacerbated by the high interest rates. So there is quite a bit of, there are some distressed sellers, I think. So it would be a good time if you're looking in that market. If interest rates go down in the next couple of years significantly, which they may do, that could, and there is another bull market, then yeah, that market will pick up again. The more buoyant segment of the market is generally the end user entry level segment, because it's more affordable, it's easier to qualify for. So I would say that, yeah, now is a good time, and the luxury segment of the market is quite volatile and sensitive to economic activities.
Okay, thank you for that insight. I think that's good for today. Glad we had a chance to speak. I'm interested in what you've said, and I'll be thinking about it a little bit. And I wish you well with both of your companies. Obviously, our viewers may not know it, but we've worked together for a couple of years now, and I'm looking forward to working with you as we move forward because exciting things are on
Absolutely,
the
been a
horizon.
great help in my business.
Thank you. We've enjoyed it very much. All right, everybody, that's it for today. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. See you later.